supply chain friends. I hope you are doing well. Today's topic is on preparing for presentations. Super excited to share some tips and tricks with you today, specifically 7 tips for you to be prepared for your next presentation. You may have a supply chain presentation coming up in the near future, or perhaps a particular topic of interest for your organization. And my first question to you is, how are you preparing? So let's get started. So the first step in preparing for your presentation is identifying a good structure for your presentation. Do you want to tell a story as you are presenting? Because when things flow in presentations and when there's a story and there's good points made, right? And not a lot of words on the presentations, but visuals that help tell that story, it's much easier for your audience to consume. The second tip in giving a presentation, your best presentation, is to visualize yourself giving that presentation. There's a couple things here that you need to know in order to do that, right? You need to know the time and location of the presentation, who the audience is. What will your setup look like? Will you have a big screen? Will there be handouts? How big is the room? Where will the audience be sitting in comparison to where you'll be presenting? How do you want to present? Are you going to be sitting down? Are you going to be standing up? Are you going to be behind a podium? Are you going to be walking around and engaging with people as you present? What will that look like? So this step is really important because the more you visualize the outcome and the ideal state of your presentation, the more comfortable it will become for you. Because the more you see yourself doing it, the more you'll actually feel like you've been there. And you'll gain the confidence that you need in order for things to go the way you want them to. The third tip is energize, right? So most of us get nervous, right? Your hands get clammy. You maybe get all nervous that, oh, I don't even remember what I'm going to say right at the get-go. And you feel the energy in you, it builds up, and it doesn't feel all that great. You know, it might be on your shoulders, it might be in your chest, it might be in your stomach, it could be in your feet, right? Everyone's a little bit different in terms of how they feel that nervous energy. Well, this is a mind game. What you can do is you can actually channel that nervous energy into excited energy, right? When you know your stuff, when you've visualized what it's going to look like when you're there, you can get excited about the fact that you're providing people with valuable information or whatever it may be, right? Whatever it is that you're looking to achieve in that presentation, get excited about it. And if you can't get excited about it, I would ask you then, does it make sense to give the presentation yet? Are you ready? Do you need to do more research? The fourth tip is to ensure at many, many different parts of this presentation to take a breath. So when you are about to walk into the room, say you're even maybe an hour early, you'll want to start breathing. You'll want to ensure that you take note of your breaths, because what that does is it actually calms you. It calms your body. It gets you in touch, right, with the things that are important in terms of reducing your stress and increasing your calmness when you are going into an important endeavor. So taking those breaths and being aware of your breaths early on is actually going to lead you into being more calm and ready for your presentation. Because when you hold your breath, you get more nervous It's harder for you to actually articulate your thoughts, right? And to actually be able to verbalize what you're trying to say. And it helps us with our pace, which is the next tip, by the way. So you want to ensure that you're taking those deep breaths and that you're allowing yourself to take those deep breaths from the get-go and all the way through the presentation. You have the floor, which means you have the ability to do what you want with that floor. And my biggest thing that I can suggest here is take advantage of the fact that you can set the way that you approach how you present, and taking breaths is one of those things. The next one is pace, right? So that goes kind of hand in hand, because when you are regulating your breaths, you're actually slowing your pace down because you are intentional about taking the time, right? Slowing down, being calm about what you are sharing, how you're sharing it. And it actually increases the engagement of your audience because they're listening to you, all eyes on you. Because if you're talking like this, then you're so fast and nobody can tell what you're saying and they don't really want to listen anymore, right? So you've got to slow down. And this is actually like an art, right? It takes practice, but I will promise you, the more practice you get, the better and easier it will get. So slowing your pace, right? And truly taking your time to get excited, really talk about the information that you know and only you know because it's your presentation, and making sure that, that what happens is when you actually take the time to slow down, your brain starts to think more, and it gives you the opportunity to remember the tidbits of valuable information that you would have before probably forgotten. The next one is emphasis of certain words in order to make an impact, right? So when you see yourself visualizing presenting and you're looking perhaps, at your slides every once in a while to ensure that you're still on track, right? And you're talking to the right slides, you want to pick out certain words that will be impactful to your audience for them to remember and emphasize those words. Because when you make an emphasis on certain language, people tend to remember those things, right? They tend to say, oh, there is a reason in their minds why that person emphasized that particular word more than others. They want to make sure that we understand there's value on that. So go through your presentation and pick out certain words that you should emphasize as you are speaking. And then the last tip I have here in preparing for presentations is ensure you have the appropriate support in order to give your best presentation. If it means having somebody look at your slides prior to actually giving the presentation, then have them do that. Look for people that are going to take the time, invest the time in helping you out and supporting you, that will give you honest and transparent feedback about what you're trying to say and how you're trying to say it. Because at the end of the day, there are many presentations that are given that don't have as great an impact as they possibly could, because of the fact that the way that the person presented just wasn't as impactful. It didn't have the elements of being a good presentation, and perhaps no one was asked to take the time to give them feedback prior to. And then also another form of support could be asking people proactively in the audience to be prepared to answer questions or to be engaged. When you've got those advocates and those folks that are willing to raise their hands and do that for you, that makes the presentation even more successful, right? It sets up the room for increased engagement. It allows everybody to be more comfortable because they hear other people speaking their mind. So it's always important to be proactive about finding those individuals who are willing to do that. So 7 tips. I hope that was helpful for you. I hope that for your next presentation, you can implement some of these and it turns out to be very fruitful for you. And keep in mind that we're always our own worst critic. But when we do prepare, it allows us the opportunity to think through things and from a different lens. And it allows us to be in the moment even more than we would if we did not take the time to prepare. So I hope this was helpful. And until next time, have a great day. Talk soon.